what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you have heard, Capricorn Clark has been announced by the prosecution to be testifying on Tuesday, and maybe she is coming in hot, bringing her story. The funny thing is, there's now a lot of chatter online from, I think, people that are paid by Diddy to try to discredit her story as to who she is. And a lot of y'all are like, no, literally, what's the backstory? Is she Lauren Londen's sister? How does she know Cassie? How is she going to be the person to take Diddy down? Well, don't worry. Your girl got a little backstory. If you guys don't know, I pulled up a video I posted 2 years ago. 2 years ago in December of 2023, we made the connection between Diddy, Capricorn Clark, and said that she would be one of the reasons why Diddy goes down and the feds are looking into it. Now, look at God's glory. It's 2 years later, and Capricorn Clark is slated to testify Tuesday. But listen to this video. It has a lot of background information. It's going to tell you a lot of what Capricorn Clark is going to testify, or at least talk about, not even including the Kid Cudi stuff that she was actually there. But baby, listen, get into this video. There is one small disclaimer. In the video, I constantly referred to Capricorn Clark as Lauren London's sister. It came out later that Capricorn Clark and Lauren London are not in fact related. They were play sisters, but her, Cassie, Capricorn Clark, Cassie, and Lauren London were like this for the longest, so much so that people thought that Capricorn Clark, hold on, y'all. People thought that, matter of fact, just get into this video. I'm pulling earrings off. But anyway, they were not real sisters. They were play sisters. But the rest of the information, get into it. And this is also the precursor for Kid Cudi's car being kaboom. Anyway, let me know what y'all think in the comments. This is a 2-year-old video, but the information is still relevant. Enjoy. All right, I'll see you on live tonight. Bye. Y'all, come in and shut the door. Suge Knight has just exposed Diddy. And baby, this is some weird tea. We're getting into what really happened between Diddy and Cassie and why she got that 30 million. Why Wale is acting like he got amnesia about what happened with the balcony thing, being all cagey. How Capricorn, his old assistant, is the reason why Cassie probably even won, and why she was throwing shade on Cassie. Now, as an added plot twist, Capricorn Clark, who was basically Diddy's and in a way Cassie's assistant, was also the sister to Lauren London, who was Cassie's best friend. On top of that, he literally dropped thing on why in the settlement papers, well, not the settlement papers, he wouldn't know, but why in the lawsuit, she said just enough. But baby, he's letting us know what was unspoken. And get this, he even drops in on, throws T-Pain into it and letting us know that, baby, he would never pray for another black man to be arrested. But he thinks Diddy's going to be his soulmate. And on top of that, he's exposing why he thinks that Diddy and Snoop are an industry plant. Y'all, sit down. Let's get into this. This is a lot to unpack, so there might be multiple videos, but we're going to put the most we can in this, okay? Now, here's the thing. Remember how Diddy said, so anyway, let me just start from the top. So the whole time, Suge Knight, you got to watch the interview. I'll put a link later on, right? But the whole night, Suge Knight was saying, yo, Cassie, I see why he settled with her. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I see why he settled with her, because like he did this, he did that. And everybody knew. He's like, even I knew he was doing it. And I was like, all right, Suge, but we all know that you don't like Puffy. So come on, get to the point, right? He's saying that Cassie put in just enough to scare the bejesus out of Puffy, but not enough to really have some leverage to still negotiate. How is that? Well, let's look at the one thing she said. When she was talking about, she did the white nail polish crew, and they were having the red light confessions, and there were videos every place, right? He said that Cassie put in just enough, but left out the part that Puffy was actually joining in. Puffy wasn't just watching. Puffy was actually engaging in this. Now, you might be like, okay, so what's the big deal? But obviously, these rumors of Puffy being on the DL, if they are true, it literally was fueled by Puffy trying to hide this truth. For whatever reason, he does not want this truth out here. So to me and you, I'd be like, okay, fine, you got me. I'm not paying you $30 million. He doesn't want that truth out there. And it's one of the reasons he was like, oh, let's settle. Same thing when she told that story about him running out the house with a gat looking for Suge Knight. She said just enough because Puffy knows what happens with that, but not enough that it would be full scale investigation on a criminal front because things like murking people and all the other stuff, there is no statute of limitations, baby. If we find out you did it when you are 73, you will be in jail on your 74th birthday. But let's talk about the real mess about how a lot of Cassie's claims, everybody was like, how could you even prove that? And I remember when one of this girl named Capricorn, who used to be Diddy's assistant, okay? When she found out that Cassie settled, she had posted something really, really interesting to Instagram. And the thing is, when I first read it, I was like, is she hating? Like, what's the big deal? She put, don't take the path of the wicked. Don't follow those who do evil. Stay away from the path. Don't even go near it. Turn around and go another way. Doors be unlocked. You got to be willing to walk away from the money. Full stop. 2011 was hell. Tragic kingdom. And when he wrote that, I was like, is that shade? But it don't seem like it. It seems like there's something more. Babes, Suge Knight said there is 100% something more. Because apparently when Cassie was creeping around with Kid Cudi, remember how Kid Cudi said it's true that his car was blown up in his driveway and Diddy had said he was going to blow the car up 10 days before and nobody investigated, not the LAPD, not anything. And I'm like, okay, Puffy fed. I think Kanye's right. Well, around that same time that it happened, Cassie was having a relationship with Kid Cudi. How did Puffy find out? Because he had the devices in Cassie's phone so she could see who she was texting and the conversations. However, Capricorn, and that is the girl that posted that thing that used to be Puffy's assistant. She was Puffy's assistant and she was also like Cassie's assistant too, but she was more Puffy's assistant. She had known something was going on between Kid Cudi and Cassie. But she turned to look at it the other way. She's like, it's not my business. But she knew something was going on. Also, the sister to Lauren Londen, who was Cassie's best friend. Remember that Cassie actually spoke about in her lawsuit that her association with Diddy and all that stuff actually cost her a lot of friendships, including a very close friendship. Could she be talking about Lauren Londen and what happened to her sister? All right, let's get into this because there's so much. Suge Knight is alleging, and can I just say, this whole video is my speculation. I'm telling you what I heard. Nothing's been proven in the court of law. This is all alleged. All right, we on the same page? All right, now get back in here for some alleged tea, right? Non-proven tea. Okay, so here we go. So Suge Knight is saying that Cassie, when Diddy found out, he beat the brakes off of Cassie. Beat the brakes off of her. Like it was like even Suge Knight was like, oof, that's too much. And when Suge Knight tells you that's too much, you've gone too far. But get this, Capricorn, his assistant, he's saying that Puffy also beat her down to the white meat. Actually beat her worse than Cassie. It was so bad. It was so bad that she had to settle with the record label. Well, I'm sorry, she had to settle with Puffy. And they're saying the record label paid her off. This is why Cassie also went into a lawsuit and put the record labels in it, saying not only did they know about it, but they were the ones that wrote the checks for the payoffs. Do you know how much? This is the thing. I don't think Cassie got just $30 million. This is like, do you know how much the record labels will want to hide this? That they were paying people off for Puffy's bad deeds? And get this. Other sources, when I actually looked into this Capricorn thing, because you know me, I'm always like, okay, this is Capricorn girl exists. Is there any validity to what Suge Knight is saying? Well, it looks like there might be a little bit, because remember how Capricorn said 2011 was hell? Y'all remember that? Yeah, I remember that. Well, apparently, after that happened, and she was, according to Suge, paid off and settled because she gotten beat so viciously, right? Part of the settlement was Puffy would be able to say that he fired her. There is an article on Yahoo News from, I believe it's 2011, 2012. Let me pull this up for y'all. That literally talks about Capricorn being fired. Capricorn being fired. Because Puffy said,
this girl stole for him. Let me get this article and read it for y'all. But can you imagine, if, according to Suge, somebody beating you viciously because you turned the other way? Why Cassie was dating Kid Cudi, right? Because I think her and Puffy were on a break anyway. And he beats you viciously. The record label gives you a settlement. And then you got to read in, then Diddy, after he knows what he's did, makes up some mess that you stole from him, and that's why you got fired, thus ensuring you would never get another job in the industry as a personal assistant because everybody thinks you're a thief, and you can't even get a job in the corporate world because everybody thinks you're a thief. How insidious is this man, if this is true? How insidious is he? Hold on, let me pull this article up for y'all. Here we go right here. She said that beating happened in 2011. Sources are saying that the settlement happened sometime between 2011 and 12. It was even more vicious than what happened to Cassie. Now, if this is true, this explains why the girl was like, 2011 is hell. You got to be able to walk away from the money. So she was shading Cassie, but in a way she was like, I gave up everything, my career, my livelihood, my reputation to walk away from evil. So Cassie should have done the same thing. Now, you can't tell people how to deal with their trauma, but it is super interesting. Okay, now for the record though, Capricorn Clark actually sat down for an interview with Grailed. She was Diddy's personal assistant from 2001 to 2012, and Diddy allegedly, they did say, fired her for stealing from his label. However, it's important to know, and this is the weird part, at the same time, Diddy took it to Twitter to clear up the air that Clark has only given, never taken, while wishing her the best for her future ventures. He also stated that Clark has simply moved on to bigger and better things. Now, while the reason behind Clark's exit from her job as Diddy's right-hand woman was never released, now, let me just say this, wouldn't it make sense? That is why also it makes sense what Suge's saying that Capricorn looked the other way, because Cassie and Londen were best friends. Cassie was trying to move on. She wasn't even creeping. She was trying to move on with Kid Cudi. Capricorn, even though she did work for Diddy, was like, I'm going to look the other way. It's none of my business. And when she found out, both of them were savagely attacked by Diddy, and on top of that, what happened to her sister probably played a role in Lauren's relationship with Cassie. I'm just saying things are starting to connect. But they said while the real reason behind Capricorn Clark's exit from her job as Diddy's right-hand woman was never released, she indeed moved on to other things. Her Grailed interview, she did marketing and strategic work for Jamba Jive Records, popularly called RCA. She also described herself as a creative director, marketing consultant, the kind of a branding person. She further called herself a vintage streetwear collector. Okay, yeah, so she's doing things, but again, she never became anybody's personal assistant. And as far as like that part of the record industry, it looks like whoever started that smear campaign that she was fired for stealing, right? She was fired for stealing. Looks like they got their wish, but y'all, let's continue. Now let's get into this because I'm gonna tell you how Wale and T-Pain play into this. Now, this article is Diddy's personal assistant fired for stealing from him. Diddy is sick. And also at the same time, I know Cassie is a victim, and she was like, and that's the thing when people are victims and when this type of stuff's going on, everybody is trying to save themselves. But I can understand Capricorn being like, everybody would, like she said, 2011 was hell. Everybody was going through a different type of hell, and Diddy was the demon. They're saying, Capricorn's contract was terminated after the business mogul discovered she was stealing from Bad Boy Records. An industry insider revealed that she worked for Bad Boy for so many years, yet now that she's unemployed, she can't use the company's name as a reference to get a new job. Capricorn Clark committed a cardinal sin over at Bad Boy Records. She was accused of stealing from Bad Boy Records. She is a jealous, lying bee. She's finished in the music industry. No one is ever going to F with her on a professional tip. It was also revealed this week that Meek Mill's stylist has been charged for stealing from the Maybach music rapper, among other things. Must be something in the air. Y'all, how evil is it that according to Suge, Capricorn got the brakes beat off of her, right? She got the brakes beat off of her because she didn't tell She didn't throw Cassie to the wolves, because if she had told Puffy, Cassie would have gotten a major beating. So she was like, I don't see anything, and she ended up losing everything. Y'all, again, what's that got to do with Wale? Because remember how Cassie sued Sony Records, all those people, this and that, and everybody's like, what they got to do with it? According to Suge, and I think this holds weight, they are the ones that facilitate the payoffs for Diddy. They protect Diddy because they say that Diddy is bringing in so much money. I don't know if that's true, but he said they protect Diddy, and part of that is paying off. What does that have to do with paying off? Wow. Apparently, you know that weird stuff that's been going on with Wale, where, you know, they got his one friend, I forget his name, on the video telling that funny story of Wale being hung over the balcony. I'm sure it wasn't funny when it happened, but the fact that Wale survived, if it happened, Wale claims it didn't happen, right? But what he did say the first time, he's like, oh, it's this and that, and he's been staying quiet, and everybody is like, Wale. Witnesses were like, Wale, if that wasn't your shoes, you know, the person we saw had your shoes on. So who put on Wale's shoes if that wasn't you? It's a really funny story. Go ahead and catch it if you can. It's in one of my other videos, or you can just Google on YouTube, right? Also, if you want to hear the whole Suge Knight interview, just put in Google search terms, Suge Knight interview on YouTube. I think it's like Suge Knight Jailhouse. Actually, let me pull up this interview for y'all really quick, just so you can see. I'll put a link. Hold on. Okay, so anyway, I'll put a picture of it on there. Hold on. Okay, so you can put in Breakbeat Media. That's the name of the channel. There, I'll put a picture on the screen. Yeah, that's the Suge Knight stuff. Okay. Okay, so let's get to the Wale stuff. Well, allegedly, if what Suge Knight has been saying is true, people are whispering that the reason Wale didn't sue Puffy ain't going hard. A lot of people are like, yo, he a man, he got pride. Nobody wants to admit that you being hung over the balcony. Maybe, but when there's 30 million on the table, baby, I was hung over the balcony, the chandelier, they had me like pushed too far into a corner. I was walking down the hallway and they walked too close and I had to go into the wall. Baby, please, I would be on there acting like it's CIS, Special Victims Unit. But all jokes aside, they are saying that Puffy paid off Wale when that happened, because Wale was a big star. He had management. You don't just do something like that and think somebody's not going to press charges, because I can imagine when it happened, if I was hung over a balcony, you don't just go home and have a drink and forget about that. That's terrifying. And the fact that somebody would literally violate you just because you were in the studio working. Imagine somebody coming to your place of work, kicking in the door, doing all this stuff, violating you, all because you dared. Wale is a businessman. I believe his management might have approached Puffy if it happened. And if it happened, they might have been like, yo, we going to press charges or we going to sue. And Puffy actually had to pay out a settlement, which would come from Sony Records. Again, Wale does claim it never happened. He said it's all thing. He said he used to pray for the gullible, but now he's scared of the gullible and all this mess. Y'all, what does this mean? What does this mean? It means that Capricorn gave enough by that settlement. Cassie has proof that she was viciously abused. Cassie has proof of what happened, because at the end of the day, these male blank workers that Puffy would film, he's saying that maybe Puffy was participating and Puffy is hiding his sexuality. He also talks about T-Pain. And the way when T-Pain was on that island, remember that island that he rented for Carisha for her birthday, Love Island or whatever, and Carisha was like dancing and stuff? Yo, I thought Carisha was on that island herself. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she wasn't, because Suge is referring to an island. I believe that's the same island that he rented out for Miami's birthday, Love Island. They said that T-Pain was brought out there to work on something or the other, but T-Pain kept talking about how they kept getting fresh with him on the island. Now, he didn't say Puffy, but he implied that it was like on some Epstein Island mess, all right? And he said that T-Pain was so desperate to get away because he felt so uncomfortable that his people had to rent a boat to come get him off of the island. Now, a lot of y'all might be saying, how can Puffy be getting away with this? Which is what I'm looking at too. If any of this was true. If it is, how could he get away? You guys, I think I have a theory. Let me know what your theory in the comments is. But I'm going to make a couple of videos today and drop them. You guys, again, take everything Suge's saying. Go watch, first of all, go watch the whole interview and decide for yourself. Don't take this as like fact or anything, because I'm repeating what Suge said. I'm connecting dots though. Go to Breakbeat Media and listen to the whole interview. The whole interview. I think part 4 just dropped and he's going to be doing more. He is going so much into stuff. He's talking about the way he thinks that Snoop is basically a prop now, which listen, after he endorsed Rick Caruso and every Republican, I 100% believe that too. Yeah, Uncle Snoop is cool, but yeah, you know, he's getting his money. We knew what we need to know when he was in that Skims campaign, and I don't care what you got to say, right? But listen about what the theory about Wale being paid off, T-Pain. Again, the thing is, and I do believe it, he said Cassie put in just enough information to let Puffy know what was up, but kept some stuff back. And after she filed in court, because I don't care what anyone says, I will always believe this, when Puffy looked at that, he hired a criminal lawyer to defend him in civil court. That's almost unheard of, you guys. He hired a criminal lawyer to defend him in civil court. Of course, you can hire whatever lawyer you want, but it looked odd to me, my opinion, right? After that happened, Puffy really thought, I can beat this. I got more money. I can bankrupt Cassie. At the end of the day, even though Cassie is a victim, I'm sure Cassie did a lot of stuff too, that from the outside looking in would make her also look like a willing participant and not a victim. Puffy ain't slow. He was down to do that, right? He thought he could do it. It was only after they went to court that they showed him some evidence that scared him so bad. And whatever that evidence is, it is outside of the statute of limitations. It showed some type of evidence that scared him so bad that he ran back and said, okay, let's settle. What could it be? Something criminal. Because criminal things are not covered by the statute. Murking someone, deleting someone, not covered by the statute of limitations. It's not covered. This would also explain why there are 2 women right now that said Diddy and Aaron Hall raped her and her friend, another woman says, and they're pressing, and Diddy's now fighting this, saying it is a cash grab. Why? Because at the end of the day, we all know in America, whoever has the most money usually beats SA or grape charges. However, just like Harvey Weinstein, what brought Harvey Weinstein down? It wasn't those civil cases. He was about to win on all of them. Nobody really believed the girls, or they were victim blaming. Oh, well, what were y'all doing there? It was only when the DA got involved and those criminal charges got involved that, baby, he was put out to pasture. Anyway, y'all, there is a lot more going on. I am compiling this video. Make sure you turn your notifications on. Let me know if y'all want me to go live later, or maybe we'll go live on Sunday. You know how it is. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. Listen to the full interview and let me know in the comments what you think. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.